Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this really special presentation. That this is a collaborative event between your Washington PTAC and the Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises in the state of Washington. We've looked forward to doing this for some time now. We, on the east side of Washington, know there are so many small businesses that are interested in getting involved in government contract opportunities. And there are different ways to get involved. So we've talked about this for some time and wanted to bring this opportunity to the east side of Washington. Very specific information that will hopefully help you make the decision if you are ready, if you want to look into federal contracting opportunities, certification opportunities, and how you kind of step through and navigate this system. So we're so happy to have guest speakers and hosts with us today. I've got Alicia Rodell from the Eastern Washington PTAC up in Spokane. We have little old me, Jody O'Connor, down in Southeast Washington, covers Southeast and Central, and our guest speaker presenter, Pamela Jordan of Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises. We also have some guests with us that will assist with certification information regarding those that speak Spanish. And we've got some additional interpretive services that might be available if you request it at a later date. And our Q&A, we will be watching for any information that you want in addition to what we present. And we look forward to giving you all the information we can to help you navigate this entire program from both the state and the PTAC sides of things for you. In addition to Pamela, we have Julie Campos, Certification Analyst from OMWBE, and Elia Mendoza will be joining us as well. Okay, let's start rolling through some information here. Just some little housekeeping to start out. We have everyone on mute right now. And so if you have any questions, you need clarification on something, please feel free to put your question in the Q&A, the question and answer box. We'll be taking some time as we go through the recording to address questions that come up that might be more pressing or pertinent to the specific area that we're presenting on. And others, feel free to wait until the end. We may answer your question as we go through the presentation. And if not, let us know and we will we'll get you the answers, and anything we don't have an answer today, we will get the answer and get it to you. So we look forward to this. We will have some information on certifications from OMWBE and what are those certifications and where to apply and resources that they can provide so you can get the assistance you need to do so. We'll be covering what PTAC is, Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, and what services we offer here in the state of Washington and nationwide, as well as information about our bid match program. It's a very unique program. It's one of the best in the United States, and it's something we think you, all clients that work with PTAC should consider participating in. So we'll let you know what it is and how you can participate. Toward the end, we'll have an additional question and answer session for you and some closing statements from all of our hosts and presenters today. So with that, I'd like to introduce Pamela. She's going to share with you information about the Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises, kind of a certification 101. So there, Pamela, you're on.
Thank you, Jody. Hi, I'm Pamela Jordan. I work at the Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises. I have been a certification analyst for over 8 years now, so I'm well versed in state and federal certifications. So let's see, next slide, please. Trying to see and go over what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about our mission. What is certification? The different types of certification, how you could benefit from being certified, the certification eligibility criteria, and then our online directory as well, and then questions and answers at the end. All right, next slide. So just a little bit about us. We've been around since 1983, and we're helping small businesses that are owned by minorities, women, or other underrepresented communities access to contract and procurement opportunities. So we're passionate about offering a seamless, positive, and timely experience. So our most valuable resource is the people that we work with their diverse backgrounds and skills and life experiences. So let's see, next slide. And here is our purpose. So we are the sole certifying agency for the state of Washington. There's a lot of different other certifications out there, city, county, etc. But OMWBE is the sole certifying agency for state certification and for our federal certification programs. And I can answer any questions related to that as we go forward if you have them. And then so we work to promote equity in Washington state spending. To try to, once a firm is certified, we're trying to eliminate some of those barriers through certification and then try to get some more level playing field for public spending and contracting, utilizing our small certified firms. All right, next slide. Here's our mission: to create and implement programs that provide maximum opportunity for participation of our businesses that are owned by minorities, women, and other represented communities in public contracting. And then the next one, here's our vision: eliminating systematic and institutional oppression in government contracting. And we also know that about 98% of the funds that come into Washington state are from our small businesses. So we really want to help promote certification and getting small businesses certified that are owned and ran by minorities and women. Just feels like a win-win, and then you get an opportunity to do some government contracting and they can utilize their government spending goals. And then we empower public entities to recognize and embrace the value of our small certified firms. Okay, and then the next slide. These are what we call our 4 pillars or lines of business. So we have certification. That's our small minority and women-owned businesses. Right now, we have approximately 2,400 firms that are state certified and right about 1,500 federally certified firms. Some of those firms will have state and federal certifications, and we can go over to why sometimes that's important to have both state and federal. And then we have supplier diversity. We do now have an assistant director of supplier diversity that's working with us. So we're hoping to start really moving forward with our supplier diversity goals and working with the other state agencies and educational institutions around the state. And part of that is meeting with 63 state agencies. It looks like there's 8 educational institutions and over 20 prime contractors that we're trying to work on a regular basis to educate and show them how that diversity spend goals are we're trying to work to build our state certified firms and federal firms for goal counting and public contracting. And then we have the linked deposit loan program. That's a program that is offered only to state certified firms. There's participating banks within Washington state that once you're state certified, you can go and go through the business application process. If you're approved for a business loan, then you can get up to a 2% reduction in your loan interest rate. And again, that's for state certified businesses. Right now, we have about 175 million available, and we're working with 11 different banks. Part of what we're working on now is we're going to start trying to get more banks involved and get more education around that loan deposit program. And then the last one is the governor's subcabinet on business diversity. So we have supplier diversity, which is really related to state contracting, working with the state agencies and the educational institutions. And then the business diversity part is more related to what resources are available to you after you're certified with our office, whether state or federal, on things that you potentially may need. One could be linked deposit. Maybe you need some capital. Maybe you need a business plan. Maybe you want to learn how to market your firm. So we call those kind of like technical assistance or business diversity resources. Okay, and then next slide. So what is certification? So we certify small businesses that are owned and controlled by minorities, women, and other disadvantaged individuals. So I know that's really broad, owned and controlled. We'll go over in that a little bit more detail. And then why do we certify? Because we want to increase contracting opportunities for our small businesses here in Washington. Okay, next slide. So we have two certification types. We have federal, which is in blue, and then we have the state. And federal certification is, we have three listed there. We have disadvantaged business enterprise, and we have airport concession disadvantaged business enterprise, which is firms that want to work at the airport with airport concessioners like food, rental cars, things like that. And then we also have a small business enterprise, or SBE, which is small business enterprise. Oh, I just said that. Small business enterprise. And that is a race and gender neutral certification. So the first one there, DBE, and the second one, ACDBE, you do have to be a minority and a woman, or a minority woman, and be owned and controlled by that firm, by you. And the small business enterprise is for individuals that don't fall into those other categories. So we do have the race and gender neutral certification for federal. While we don't have one for state, we have one for federal, and that's mandated for all 50 states.
Say, Pamela.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but we do have a question I think is pertinent right now.
Okay.
Anthony asks if your organization offers the proper channels to get support for filling out the applications themselves. Do you have staff that assists with that?
We have staff. I think we have 10 or 12 analysts right now. We rotate what we call technical assistants. So we don't do paper applications anymore. Everything's online now. So we can show you how to set up your account and get going on the application process and kind of set you up for success. And then if you're having issues along the way with the different sections or the documents that we ask for, we do have a technical assistance number that you can call Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And there'll be an analyst like myself and Julie there that we can help you walk you through that process.
You know, with the Zoom world that we're in right now, and I know there are some people that really aren't real comfortable with online processes and things. Are you able to have meetings and share a screen and kind of walk them through so you can see what they're seeing, or is that feasible for you guys?
Yes, I do that often, depending on if they're comfortable with that and they have the camera and the capability. Yeah, you can share the screen. That's a great way to see what they're seeing. And then you can actually really walk them through, like, do you see this box, and click here and then go next. And we do have forms that we look at so we can kind of see the perspective from the applicant's point of view, but sharing that screen is a great way to really kind of speed up that process and make it a little more clear. Wonderful. So yeah, we're more than willing to do that. I usually will schedule a time with them just so I have dedicated time that I can sit with them and go through it when they're ready, you know, a little bit of time doing it. So yeah, wonderful. That's that technical assistance again, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Yeah. Great. Our physical office is still closed, at least through the end of the year.
Great. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. And then we have state certification, and you can see those listed there in the green. Minority business enterprise. We have minority woman business enterprise, woman business enterprise, combination business enterprise, and then the last one, the social and economically disadvantaged business enterprise. So the first one is if you're a minority male. The second one is a minority woman, or MWBE, and then a woman business enterprise. Combination business enterprise, I think we have maybe 100 or 200 firms that fall into that category. That's 50% owned by a minority male and 50% owned by a Caucasian female. So they don't really fall into any other category. So we have that, what we call combined business enterprise. And then the last one is the SEDBE. That's for the other underrepresented communities, such as potentially could be if you have a disability, but you're not a minority or a woman, maybe that would be something that you'd want to apply for. I would encourage anybody considering the last two, the SBE, or excuse me, the CBE or the SEDBE, to call in and just check if you're not sure what area you fall into. We'll go over the criteria a little bit in a few minutes. But if you're unsure, it's always best to call so we can get you to the correct application online. All right, next slide. Thank you. So why get certified? So I've already touched on that a little bit. Once you're a certified firm, then you can participate in potential state contracting with state agencies, local governments, school districts, educational institutions, and other public universities. And for the federal side, we have federally funded transportation projects. So they might be federally funded, but they're still a state contract that's here in Washington state. Contracts can have federal dollars in them and state dollars. So depending on the type of firm that you have, you may want to get both state and federal certification. And we'll go over that a little bit too, moving forward on kind of how you determine that. And then state agencies and colleges do have supplier diversity goals. They are they're not mandatory goals, they're voluntary goals. Part of the process is we want to get more of these organizations doing this on a voluntary effort. And then as a few years go by, if that's not working, then we can go take the legal process of trying to make it a mandatory process. But we're going to work on the voluntary now and really try to educate and get more firms certified so they could then be utilized. And then some small companies also like to work with small certified firms from our office. They know the process that you go through to get certified. It's what I like to call, kind of a lengthy but vigorous process of vetting. So once you are a certified firm, you know that if you're working with a small certified firm from our office, that we have completely reviewed everything and they are legitimately owned and ran by a minority or a woman. Next slide. Okay, so the eligibility criteria is the business has to be for profit, can't be a nonprofit. The gross receipts need to be under 23.98 million. I know that sounds like a really big number. That number is based on which NAICS codes are assigned to the firm. And that's based on the work that you're trying to get certified in. So for example, one NAICS code, I think the very bottom is like 7.5 million. You have to have at least, you can go up to 7.5 million in a certain NAICS code, let's say. So if you're a small business and been in business, 5 or 10 years, you're probably going to be well under any size standard threshold. And then you do have to be licensed in Washington to do business, and that's to appropriate licensing for your firm. All firms need to go through Secretary of State and Department of Licensing and Department of Revenue. But then like if you're a construction contractor, then you would want to have the Labor and Industries license, contract license, for example. And then the owner of the business must be a minority or a woman. That minority or woman needs to own at least 51% of the firm. So they have to have majority ownership. You have to show a financial investment or capital in the firm. Doesn't have to be a big amount. Some people start their firm with $200. They get the Secretary of State license, maybe get a website and the proper licensing. They're open, quote, for business. You don't have to have any contracts before you're eligible. There is other certifications like the SBA through the federal government, Small Business Administration. They have different criteria, but for our certification, you don't have to be in business for 3 years or necessarily have any contracts or even gross receipts. You just have to be legally open for business, the licensing, and ready to work. You do need to have knowledge, experience in the field that you're seeking certification in. So if you're a baker, then you need to be able to show that you've done some baking in the past and that you have the baking tools, et cetera, that you would need to do that work. And you have to have a legal control over the business, meaning you have to be legally 51% owner or more, and that you're also controlling the operations and the activities of the firm on a regular basis. You need to be able to independently perform these services. That means that you're not what we call unduly reliant or reliant upon another firm to help you do the work that you're seeking certification in. And then owners must be economically disadvantaged. And what that is, and this is for state and federal, all these bullet points are for both certifications. You do have to have a personal net worth yourself as the owner, have to have a personal net worth that's under 1.32 million. And that is not taking into account your primary residence where you live full-time, or any assets or income from the business itself that you're seeking certification in. And that form, there's a form that's provided through the application process. So as I stated, we don't do paper applications anymore. There's no way for us to process a paper application. And then all the documents that we ask for through that application process are also submitted online through a secure portal that's been established. I think we've been doing this since August of 2017, I want to say. And we kind of phased out the paper application. So everything's online now. And the link there goes directly to our website where you create your account. And then that's where you're going to choose that state application or federal application or both applications. All right, next screen.
Quick question for you, Pam.
Yeah.
That just came in. If someone's been in business for more than 3 years, they've got their business license, they are operating it by themselves successfully thus far, will that application process be pretty easy, or is it kind of rough?
Yeah. That's a good question. When the firm's owned 100% by the eligible individual, the minority or the woman, we call them usually eligible individuals, there is sometimes less paperwork. If you have one owner, haven't been in business very long, the section has a mandatory document section and also a required section. I like to tell folks the way I remember is mandatory M, you must provide something in the mandatory section. And then the required section is only if it's applicable to you. So we do get quite a few questions about that. That's just something within our system. We can't change the language on that. So it's probably, to answer the question, a little bit less paperwork, so it could potentially go through quicker. One way that you can help to try to keep the process moving forward is try to have a most complete application possible, kind of filling in all the blanks and providing all the information to best of your ability. That helps. So we don't have to ask for a lot of additional information. Hopefully that helps it kind of go along. Sometimes we get a question about, do we have an expedited process? We do not. Once the application comes in, we receive payment, it goes in queue to be assigned to an analyst. And then they're notified of that assignment. And then depending on the certification type, I think I cover a little bit later, but state is typically around 60 days and to process once we receive it. And then for federal, it can take up to 90 days because we have an on-site requirement for that for federal.
Great. So Pamela, we do have another question just came in from Maria. As
Sure.
you're going through that application process, can you save your application and come back to it later?
Yes, you can.
It's a very good question. People are so
Yes,
busy.
it
It's
is.
nice to know you can do that.
Yes, you can. The other caveat to that is once you start an application, we ask that you finish it within, I think it's actually 90 days. So if you don't go back in and finish that application within, it's either 60 or 90, I want to say 90, then it gets deleted. So if you're going to start it, really try to, tell yourself, hey, I'm going to commit, to really try to get this done maybe in a couple of weeks would be more of my suggestion. Because if you're interested in certification, you want to get the application submitted so then it can get to an analyst. So,
well, like everything else, if you're interested in doing something regarding contracting, government related, anything, it's best that you do your homework first, prepare so you have all the materials with you when you sit down to start the application, and that would shorten the length of time it takes to get it completed, even if you need to wait a couple of days to finish it up, right?
Right. Yep, for sure.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, next slide. Oh.
Tell you what, while she's sliding the new slide in, another quick question for you, Pam.
Yeah.
Is there a charge for the application for both state and federal? Are they the same or are they different?
Yeah, good question. They are different. So if you want just state certification, it's a $100 processing fee. And then that certification is renewed every 3 years. And then it'll have a $100 processing fee at that point for every 3 years going forward. And then for federal, if you want just federal certification, it's $25. If you want both state and federal, then what you would do is start your your federal application. One of the very first questions will say, do you want state certification at the same time? You click yes, and then the fee is only $25. So it's actually, less expensive if you want. Well, it depends on what you want, but if you want state and federal certification, we changed that a few years ago to try to make it a little more affordable than it used to be $125 for both. So now it's just the 25. And then if you want just federal, it's still 25. So I tend to encourage folks, since you're going through the process anyway, if you're going to get federal certification, why not just get the state certification at the same time? Then you have full possibilities for marketing your business for state and federally contracted funded dollars or for the contract. Okay, some of the types of documents that we ask for is an affidavit of certification. That's just stating this is who I am, how you self-identify as a minority or a woman, and we have the list there. And then you just sign it stating that everything that you're providing in the application is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge. For federal, that's a form that needs to be notarized. The state doesn't have, actually, we just changed that. So I'll take that back. So the affidavit for federal needs to be notarized, but the state one does not. Both applications ask for personal and business taxes. So the business taxes, if you haven't been in business for 3 years, that's okay. You just provide, 1 year, 2 year, how it applies to you. The reason why we ask for 3, one, it's in the law, but the second reason is for gross receipts, when we're looking to ensure that you're actually a small business, we take 3 years of your gross receipts and then divide by 3 to get that average. But if you don't have 3 years, that's totally fine. It's not required if you haven't been in business 3 years. But for the personal tax returns, you still need to provide the 3 years. That's to confirm the personal net worth requirement that I spoke about a little bit earlier. And then the application also provides that personal net worth statement. We recently changed that where we used to have a state personal net worth form and a federal net worth form. Now we just use the federal personal net worth form for both state and federal. So the other thing I should mention too that I didn't is when you apply for state and federal application at the same time, then you only have to provide those documents one time. You only have to go through the process one time. If you do federal one like tomorrow and then 3 months you went ahead and said, oh, I should have gotten state at the same time, then you have to go through that entire process again and provide all those documents again. So that's why if you're already applying for federal, I say, why not just get the state too? Then you have both. And
Does a personal net worth, and I'm sorry, Pam, does a personal net worth include your spouse or significant other's net worth information, or just the individual that owns the business?
That's a good question. So Washington State is still one of 9 states that are community property states. So technically, unless there's a separate property agreement or some other formal document on file, then it is actually the assets and the liabilities for both the applicant and their spouse. And then what we do then is once everything's listed, we'll divide that by 2, to address the 50% ownership. So then we have an accurate personal net worth for that applicant only. But we do ask that you include all the assets and liabilities for the couple, for the applicant and the spouse.
Okay, thank you.
And we also ask for your business formation and operating documents. That could be your articles of incorporation. Secretary of State, I think, gives you some type of a formal letter. Sometimes people will offer that. Operating documents vary depending on whether you're a corporation or an LLC or a sole proprietor. So those documents will vary based on the type of firm that you have. We ask for resumes for the eligible owner or owners, along with any individual that helps that owner in the day-to-day operations or that helps with the day-to-day operations. It's either a manager or a project manager. Resumes are the only thing that we collect that actually shows what experience and expertise that eligible owner has in the primary work of the work that they're seeking certification in. So that's why resumes are really important. We do get that question quite often. Why do you need a resume? A lot of small business owners don't have resumes, right? So then I just ask that you list out your capabilities, what your experience is, formal education. We'll work with you on that, but we do have to have something from the owner on that.
Does that have to go back like 10 years? You know how far back the resume should go to meet your qualifications?
Yeah, that's a good question. If someone's just starting out, they're not going to have a lengthy resume. If it's something that, I'll put it this way, if it's something that you've been doing, forever, and you're a small business owner and you don't have a resume, I just ask for a synopsis, basically a summary of their qualifications. So yeah, there's no hard and fast rule on resumes. We just essentially want to see what your expertise is in the field of the work that you're seeking certification in.
Yeah, that's really good to know, because some people have done that type. They have that skill set and now they're starting out on their own to do that. So they would be able to meet the qualifications as long as they can share with you that they have the skill set required to perform the duties in that new position, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And like I said before, the affidavit of certification that you sign, that's saying that everything you're providing is true and accurate. So while we say, has to be a resume, it's a resume, or it's a list of your experience and education that supports the work that you're seeking certification in. So that's really up to the analyst to determine based on the law and the regulations on what is enough information to kind of satisfy that, okay, yeah, you've got the experience and knowledge, then that makes sense. And, we can move forward.
Great.
Yeah. Proof of initial investment. Sometimes I think it's called capital too, which can be confusing. And really what that is just whatever monies you've put up to get your business started. So your licensing, a business plan, or maybe you had attorney fees, just letting us know what expenses you had up front and how you covered those. Did you use your credit card? Did you have money in your bank account? We want to see that owner, the eligible owner, did put some money's investment into their firm. It's another way to support that they do own and control the firm. And then list of equipment, that again is really varies depending upon the type of firm you have. If you're an IT expert, then you're probably going to have a lot of software cost that you're looking at, equipment, maybe a vehicle. And then if you're in construction, then of course we're going to be wanting to see the hand tools, equipment that goes along with. If you're an excavator, then maybe you have an excavator or you rent one. That's another key part to the control piece. Do you have equipment to self-perform the work? You don't, and I'd like to say you don't have to own the equipment. Like an excavator could be $150,000. I don't know about you, but I don't have that kind of money for an excavator, and a new business probably doesn't either. So you can rent the equipment. That's totally fine. We just need to see that you have access to it, meaning either if you haven't rented one, that you have something set up with a local supplier that would rent that equipment to you. Okay, I think we're doing okay on time. Next slide, please. And then here's the application process time. There's no statute for state certification on the time frame. Our internal target is 60 days. So once we receive the application and the payment, it goes through where an actual person looks at the application to make sure the minimum amount of documents and information's there. And then once we accept it, then you get a notification that we've accepted it. And then a few days later, typically it gets assigned to an analyst. So that 60 days starts once we accept your application and you get notified of that. And then 90 days for federal, a little bit more lengthy because we do have an on-site requirement there where we physically come out to your home office or your office and do an on-site report. But with COVID, we've been doing all those virtually. So that helps kind of speed up the process a little bit. We do it in this kind of a forum.
Say, Pamela?
Yeah.
When they finish up this certification process, it's completed, accepted, and they are formally certified. Does OMWBE provide an actual certificate they can print a hard copy if they wish to do that, or is it all really in the system instead?
Right. Yeah. No, we don't do an actual certification, like certification that you can put up on the wall, let's say. When you're a certified firm, you go onto our online directory. And then what I recommend people do, because you also get a certification letter, but that letter has a date on it. So let's say if a contractor says, hey, how do I really know if you're a certified firm with OMWBE? You don't have a certificate. This letter is a month old, a year old, right? So what do? So the only way really to go about that is to do it through our online directory, where you pull up your online profile that's open to anyone, the public. You can pull up your firm there and do a PDF or print it onto a PDF, and it has the date on that PDF. So once you're certified and you're on that directory, you are a legitimately certified firm. There's still a lot of people still think sometimes I think we used to probably do certificates a long time ago, maybe. And then I know we did, since I've been here, we also do letters, and we used to physically put those in the mail. Now you just get a notice, hey, go online to your secure portal. We've got a letter for you if you want to go download it.
That's good to know. I know I'm asked on occasion. Many of us are just so used to being able to print it out, put it on your wall, or when someone requests proof, it's nice to know in this presentation where they would go. They'd go to their own profile, and they can get their own PDF and forward that to the requester if they'd like to.
Yep, and it does have the date on it, which is really nice. And it also shows your certifications. If you have more than one, it'll show all your certifications as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
We had a couple more questions come in the Q&A as well. So one of them says, does the business have to be in operation for a certain amount of time before applying for state or federal certification?
No, there's no requirement. You have to be for profit and properly licensed.
And the second one asks, for the personal net worth statement, should you include CC balances, I'm assuming credit card, if the balance is paid off each month?
I think this is the way I answer this. If you're filling out the form today and you have a balance on your credit card, include it. If you're done with the form and then you pay it the next day, but you've submitted your application, it's fine. I look at it as like a point in time. Fill it out and give your true, accurate assets and liabilities at the point when you're filling out the form.
Thank you for clarifying that for us.
Sure. All right, next slide. And then here we were talking about the directory. So businesses that appear on our directory are certified with OMWBE. They're a lot of times people think, oh, well, what if let's say your firm potentially is certified and it's going to get decertified potentially, let's say, and we're in the decertification process because one of the criteria no longer applies to the firm, and let's say they've gotten too big for the program and we have to decertify them. As long as they're active and we're going any process we go through, that firm remains certified through any review process of any kind. As long as they're certified, they're on the directory. There is absolutely no gray area in that regard. I get that question a lot. If they're on the directory, there's even a disclaimer right there before you go into the directory that states that very thing. So on the directory, they're a certified firm. You can utilize them for goal counting purposes for diversity spend.
A good question came in. Connie asks if they go for the federal certification through you guys, does that have anything to do with the CAGE code and the DUNS number? Are you familiar with that?
I am. Those are not requirements for certification. Those aren't things that you have to have. Now, if you're going to go for government contracting, potentially you might have to have those two things. But for certification, it's not required. We look at everything in the file as a whole. So let's say if that's something that you're going to need for the type of work that you're in. We may wonder why you don't have it, but it doesn't necessarily say, oh, if you don't have it, then you can't get certified.
Right. And to clarify for Connie too, we'll be going through this when we do the PTAC part, but when it comes to having a DUNS number, you do need to have that in order to register your firm with the System for Award Management. That's where you get, you go through the process and you have a cage code assigned to your business through the SAM profile, specifically for federal contracting opportunities. And we'll get into more detail on that in the PTAC portion of the presentation. Excellent question, Connie, but it's not pertinent specifically to the OMWBE certifications. That's completely separate. Great question.
Yeah, very good question. And then the second point there for the online directory that can help potential clients, buyers, to locate your firm to ensure that you are legitimately owned and ran by a certified firm, or that you are a certified firm, I should say. Okay, next slide. Oh, and that's it. Great. And I don't know if there's any more questions that I could answer.
Well, we do have a question that came in from Sarah. How long does your DUNS number last? She had one assigned to her business in 2013. Just a quick, I think from my perspective, it doesn't go away. It is assigned to your business at that time, and it remains that way unless you request a different DUNS number for your business or a different business name. Maybe you open up a second business, you'd need a different DUNS and Secretary of State registration. Again, it's perfectly fine. If you're not sure, you can contact Dun & Bradstreet and ask them if it is still a viable number assigned to your business, just to be sure before you dive into SAM or any federal contracting. It's homework that you probably want to do anyway, just to be sure everything's still good. I'm not seeing any other specific questions. I'm going to open this up and ask folks if you have anything else, please type it into the Q&A and we'll run these for you. Here's a good one from Lizette. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Beyond Department of Transportation projects, are there other federal opportunities for OMWBE certified firms?
Besides federal contracts, was that the question?
Talking about Department of Transportation, which that's a state firm. So in addition to the Department of Transportation, when you're thinking about the pros of having your firm certified through OMWBE, does that help with other federal opportunities if we're certified through OMWBE?
So OMWBE has the state certification and the federal, right? And WSDOT, Washington State Department of Transportation, they look at firms that are federally certified, or DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, right? For the federal. So they could have a state contract that's here located in Washington, but it could have federal dollars attached to it, because WSDOT looks at highway, road, street, bridge work, and firms that are looking to do that have, that are certified in work that's related to highway, road, street, and bridge work. And then that same contract could also have state dollars attached to it, because we have, interstate, like I-5 goes down to Oregon and or through California as well. So that could have state dollars and federal dollars into it. So if you have, or in the contract. So if you have a state certification and a federal certification, depending on how the diversity goal spend is written out, they could potentially goal count you for both state diversity goal spend and federal. So
there's a little overlap there where it can be beneficial. And Lizette, also consider too, if you're looking at federal opportunities, it's always good to talk to your PTAC counselor, get lined up with a PTAC counselor and find out about certifications through the Small Business Association. And we will go into more detail on that. It does bring up the question, Pam, when we're talking with our clients about SBA certification and leveling the playing field, if you will, it can help them qualify for what we call sole source or set aside contract opportunities for women-owned, veteran-owned, minority-owned. When you're talking about the state level, state, local, county that OMWBE is most pertinent to. Do you see that they have solicitations at the state level that are potentially set aside for specifically women-owned, veteran-owned, or one of those disadvantaged groups in the eyes of the government?
Yes, that's it. That is my understanding. Contracting is not my specialty. Certification is. I always like to say that, but I know that they have voluntary goals for state certified firms.
Yeah. Yeah, so it can definitely be beneficial to the business to go through that application and certification process. Because there are some times that an entity is looking for, meeting their own goals of, we don't have enough women in this area of expertise, and we'd like to get more, and we'd like to give them more opportunities. So it is very beneficial to get the certification formally through OMWBE.
I think if you're interested in federal, like working with WSDOT in particular, and you're going to go for the federal certification, I always tell people it literally doesn't cost you anything additional to get that state certification. Then you're doing it at the same time. It doesn't take any extra time because you already have to supply all the documents and everything already. And then you're not paying the $125 like it used to be. You're still paying $25. So, I like to say buy one, get one free, so to speak. $25 for the federal, and then you can throw in the state. So I think that just maximizes your opportunities in my mind. So
it does.
Why not?
More bang for your buck, kind of, right?
Yeah,
put the time and
exactly.
effort in it. Let's get everything we can and arm ourselves for what we'd like to do in the future. So that's great.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other questions for Pam? So here's a good one from Maria. Do you know if tribal governments in Washington State use the OMWBE directory when they're looking for a firm?
I do. They do look at that. And we are looking to hopefully work more with the tribes to get more small businesses that are tribally owned in our directory. So yes, they do.
Are you guys seeing that you have, are you kind of missing certain areas? Are there areas of expertise that maybe, whether it be construction or other services, anything in particular that you'd want to share with our participants that if they do that, they might want to look into tribal and other ops?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not aware of maybe gaps in our online directory, specifically like certain NAICS codes or industries. What I do know is their WSDOT's really looking to want to work more with state certified firms that are in certain industries. So right now we're working on a NAICS code list. So once you're a certified firm, you have certain NAICS codes that are assigned to your profile that are related to the work that you're doing business in. And WSDOT, we're working on coming up with an outreach program where we can start telling small business owners that are owned and ran by minorities or women, here's the NAICS codes that we want. We encourage you to get certified if you're not already certified in these certain industry or NAICS code areas. So that's something we're currently working on to start doing some outreach and get the word out about that. So there's more to come on that, but we are looking into that as well as where are there gaps in our directory that potentially we need to do outreach to those small certified or those small businesses so they can get certified.
That's great. I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I think one of the biggest benefits to the collaboration between OMWBE and PTAC, particularly here in the state, is that we will be in constant contact. Pamela, her other staff, supervisory staff, myself, PTAC members throughout the state, because these are in development and there will be some other, additional information coming out regarding NAICS codes and areas that they're looking for more. We can keep each other apprised of areas that they're really looking for more specialists with certain certifications and NAICS codes And our teaming here between these two agencies is hopefully going to be very beneficial to the small businesses throughout our state, because then you would be able to go to either an advisor with OMWBE or a PTAC counselor like myself or Alicia and ask those questions. Say, where are we now? Are you needing women-owned businesses that do excavation? And what are we looking like? And we can consult with Pamela and her staff to try to get that data and get that to you as rapidly as possible. So, you know, these are things that that we're looking forward to in the future, and working with OMWBE and her staff and bringing those opportunities here to Eastern Washington.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really want to focus on outside the Puget Sound area. That's another reason why we really like partnering with PTAC, because you have offices in Eastern Washington. We now have staff that's physically located in Washington. We have 3 certification analysts that are physically located in Eastern Washington to help us with certification, of course, and outreach events. So we're really trying to work towards spreading our wings out to those non-Puget Sound counties, you know, outside that area. So,
and the provision of staff that are bilingual to provide a good, stronger cultural match to those that live on the eastern side or throughout the state that prefer their native language than those that speak Spanish, Latino. We can go ahead and connect you with people that can help you, maybe just make it a little easier to go through the process speaking in your native language, which we're looking forward to. One more quick question, and then I think we'll probably start off with the PTAC in a sec. Sarah asks if you're going to do any in-person meetings in Spokane.
We definitely want to. Oh, is that for OMWBE?
You and Alicia.
Oh, okay. I can't speak for them, but I know we definitely want to. We consider doing this event physically, but we're just not quite there. So we're going to get through the winter, see how the winter goes, and fingers crossed, we would love to do an actual physical outreach where we come out to the Tri-Cities area, Pasco, Spokane area. Yes, we would absolutely love to do that. That's definitely on our to-do, just not sure when.
And on my end, right, we're doing everything virtually, unfortunately, and that'll probably end up lasting through the winter. And I'm going to cross my fingers and hope we can start getting back to being in person. It's my host organization has changed everything back to virtual here, as of last week. So just looking forward to getting back to being in person. And one note on the full question, PTAC also has a Native American PTAC as well. So if this is a Native American PTAC, let us know, or Native American, let us know, and we can connect you with the appropriate person, because some of the things that Native American businesses, some of the rules and regulations are a little bit different than what non-Native American companies have to abide by. So if that's something that you're targeting or extremely interested in, let us know and we can connect you with Jeremy.
Yes, thank you for that. Yep.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Alicia. Yeah, we try to have every opportunity available to meet the needs of our clients, depending on what their heritage and where they are from and what they're looking into doing. So, and if we missed the mark on something, there's something additional we can do to help you out that we haven't covered, let us know, because we want to see what we can do to meet the needs of these businesses to help them succeed in their area of expertise. Thank you so much, Pamela.
Thank you.
You know, we will obviously have a Q&A toward the end of the entire presentation. We have gone through those that were pertinent to your presentation so far. So we'll keep an eye on the Q&A. If you have other questions that you think, oh, I forgot to ask Pam this, type it in there. I don't mind interrupting my stuff to go to hers, or we'll address those other questions at the end of our PTAC presentation, and we look forward to getting answers for you there. So with that, I think we'll move on to the beginning part of our PTAC presentation. Thank you, Pamela. So for those that aren't familiar with PTAC, the acronym, which is the world of government contracting, almost everything you do is acronymized, I guess I'd call it. So those letters stand for Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. And Alicia, you can go ahead and move on for me. The PTAC program, basically we're a liaison between the small business and the large government entities, or small, local, county, everything. This is a program that's nationwide. And we have, I don't know, we just hired a couple more staff, but I think we have 13 or 14 PTAC staff in the state of Washington itself, and hundreds throughout the nation. Our program was established back in the mid 80s as part of the Department of Defense Authorization Act. Basically, it was noticed by those in the higher administrative levels of government at the federal level that we simply were not including enough small businesses in the opportunities. And we know, we have data that can show that the small businesses are basically the backbone of the American business world and our success worldwide. There aren't really many businesses, I guess, that you could say start out as a large business. Unless started by a multi-millionaire, I suppose. But almost everybody starts out kind of small, and they develop what they do, and they do better, and they hire more employees, and it gets bigger and bigger. And the federal government sees a very strong responsibility to include small businesses at every level of government contracting, not only to meet the needs that maybe a larger company can't provide, but we want to make sure that those United States companies have the opportunity to get their foot in the door, succeed in business, and increase their employee base, increase their bottom line. And in essence, then they basically give back to the United States and support the United States through their tax dollars. So it's a mutual benefit, top to bottom, bottom to top. But they did realize that there was a gap in understanding really how to navigate federal and any government contracting. And so it was decided at that point in the 80s to develop a program where we had highly trained individuals that serve as the go-to people to find answers, get answers, and help small businesses navigate the government contracting world, how to prepare, how to get certified to show formally that they are the type of business they say they are and that they do what they do, and then how to really get their business out and market it to those federal and all levels of government entities so that they can start working with them and providing services. This program has been very successful. It's just grown and grown over the decades. And currently we are funded by the federal government and our host sites. So when you ask yourself, well, where's this program come from and how can it be free? Because 99.9% of what PTAC does is free to our clients. There's no cost to sign up for our services, and there's no cost to utilize our expertise for, I would say, 99.9% of what we do. There is one thing we do, and we'll talk about it later in this program, called the bid match, and that is a fee for service. But everything else that we do, the homework, helping you with your marketing skills, learning about government contracting, very basic skills. We provide that to you at no cost because this program is paid for by the federal government and our local hosts. In Spokane, where Alicia works, that is the Greater Spokane Inc. is the name of the agency. And in Kennewick, my host site is the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce. Next up. So here's a map of the state of Washington to kind of give you an idea of the regions that we cover. We are divided up into 8 regions. The one that Alicia covers is in the red, the darker red, region 7, and mine is kind of a gold color, region 8. So Alicia handles Northeast, a little North Central, Northeast, Eastern, and far Southeast Washington. And my region covers 7 counties in the Central and Southeast. Keep in mind that all of the PTAC counselors that are affiliated with the state, we're in contact every day, all day, to keep each other apprised of what's happening, who knows some information that our clients need on the west side or the east side. So there's constant communication, and you benefit by working with a PTAC counselor because you get the entire package at no cost. Things that we help with, of course, we talked about certifications, so we will go through those in a little bit. Registrations, whether that be vendor registrations or registering your business in the system for award management for federal contracts. We have a system to help you find opportunities to bid on. We can help train you on how to locate those opportunities and do market research yourself. We can help you figure out what those solicitations and regulations mean. There's a lot of legal jargon in there, and we can help you understand that. And we even have, we've got some attorneys on our staff too. So if there are things that are some legalese that we're not absolutely certain about, we know who to talk to and get the answers for you to the best of our ability. I say we also help with marketing to government buyers. We can connect you with individuals that are small business program managers when we feel you're ready to do so. We don't just hop right in there, but we help get you prepared so that if you are and we see an opportunity, it may be beneficial to introduce you to a small business program manager for more information. All these things that we talk about, we do them through various ways. One-on-one counseling sessions. I have clients that contact me and I meet with them right now, like Alicia. We do that online via Zoom. Eventually, we will get back to live meetings one-on-one. Just bear with us. It's all a matter of numbers. Workshops like this. We do webinars. We do trainings. We also have matchmaking events. These are things that would, our purpose is to connect the small business owner with larger entities. In my case, there's a matchmaking event to help you learn more about Hanford and what's happening here in Southeast Washington. Alicia has events up in Spokane that are a little more pertinent to her area. And of course, we've got another larger event that's statewide. We will get into that in a little more detail, but that's to give you an idea of how our counselors are divided up in regions to provide the best service one-on-one to individual areas that we can. Next slide. Some people do. They ask me, well, why are you here? What does this have to do with me as a small business? Why is it important that we're here? Well, this is kind of how we see it, is that there are billions of dollars spent by government funded entities every year. And those are local, they're municipalities, at the county, state, federal levels, military, all the way up to NASA. And there are many, many opportunities for small businesses to do business with them. The reality is, I mentioned before, the federal government is required to level the playing field by providing contracting and subcontracting opportunities to small businesses. And these rules that are in place specify a percentage of their service and supply contracts and purchases must go to small businesses in specific categories that have been determined, quote, disadvantaged by census data. And I want to take a minute to clarify that. I want everybody to understand that this is not a term that we use in a derogatory fashion in any way. This is a term that is used by the federal government that basically says, based on census data, population areas, businesses that may or may not exist within certain areas and we need them there, those things are determined to be, quote, disadvantaged because in the history of business contracting, there are specific categories that we have gaps in. We don't have as many women-owned businesses providing certain services, and they have the same right and opportunity to provide those services too. So the government's doing what it can to provide incentive, if you will, for the government, particularly at the federal level, to utilize small businesses through contract and subcontract. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understands this is all based on data. It gets updated when the census is updated, which we will see in the next couple of years. And we see that as a very positive thing for small businesses. And it's to be, these businesses are to be respected highly, not disrespected. So that's Jody's little piece. We here in Southeast and Eastern Washington, we know we've got many, many businesses that would be qualified to take advantage of these laws and the SBA contracting requirements, but they just don't know it. We're not out there every day telling every business about this. We are a large agency that does our best to market what we do through channels that we find are successful, but we want everybody that can hear about it, take advantage of this. Some of the businesses might qualify for certification for priority status, and we might even to, be able to certify in more than one area. So I think that's a good idea. So we've talked a little bit about what PTAC is essentially, and now To let you know how you actually become a client of ours, it's really very simple. It's easy. It costs nothing. It takes relatively few minutes just to put a little information in a business profile and send it over to our way. And as soon as it shows up, we'll get in touch with you and start moving forward. On the slide, you can see a link to our PTAC website where you can click on there. And when it pops up with its main page, you'll see up on the upper right corner, there is a picture there that says become a client. You simply click on that, fill out the information. We don't ask for financial information or anything super in-depth. It's just a basic profile about your business, how long you've been in business, what kind of business it is, your NAICS codes if you know what they are. And we ask that you give us as much detail as you can to help us understand who you are and what you're interested in doing. And, you know, a little basic homework for us before we get started. It is best to use Google Chrome or Firefox rather than Internet Explorer. We have noticed some technical issues can happen with Internet Explorer. So Chrome or Firefox, I think, are preferred if you can. And once you get registered, your counselor will contact you. Depending on where you're located, you will be assigned to the PTAC counselor in the region where you're located, similar to what you saw in our map, the state map. For those of you just coming back in, or those were a little late joining us today, I want to make sure you understand that we will be providing the slide deck with all of the links in our presentation for the entire presentation. And we are recording this, so this information will be made available to you via video recording on our PTAC YouTube site. All that information will be provided to you toward the end, so you can have that. And I think Alicia and I will make sure the slide deck gets shared with those that would like to have it as well. The other thing to understand is that when you register as a PTAC client, one of the most important parts is that you're actually signing authorization. It gives us permission to work with you as a business. I've had some folks contact me by phone and ask if I could help with something, and I have to write back and ask them to register as a client. Not because we want to have you do additional work or anything, but we want your authorization to work with you. And it's a way for us to document how many clients, how many small businesses and large businesses that we work with in our region, because we are required to report that back to the Department of Defense, which helps us continue to get the funding to provide these services to you at no cost. Again, mutual benefit, and we appreciate you doing that. We'll also let you know on a regular basis if we need you to I think renew your agreement to be a PTAC client, again, to let us have that authorization to continue working with you. Okay, next up. When you get registered, and you'll get an email, a welcome email that gives you information, and it will give you passwords so that you can go into your user account in PTAC and access all the information that's available. Our information is updated on a regular basis. And so when you get this welcome, we want to point out there are a number of different things. All the events, the calendar events that are coming up, so you can see what's coming up that you want to sign up for, similar to today. The events calendar is a big one, and a library of documents and resources. There's a plethora of information that we provide to our clients, not just one-on-one, but we are continually updating this information on the website so that at a glance you can go into your account with PTAC and find the information that you are looking for. Again, if there's something you're looking for, you can't quite find it, get a hold of your PTAC counselor and we can give you guidance on that. Question, Sarah, I'll answer this one. I'm sorry, I just missed it. If you're working with one PTAC counselor, can you work with another? Was that what we said? Alicia, did you see that question for us?
Yeah. Yes, I did see her question. I did actually answer it in the chat box. It says, if you're already being contacted by it, does this mean you're a registered client? So yes, it does.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, I think we'll just move on to the next. That's just an idea of what that looks like when you get signed up. Now, a lot of times people come to PTAC because they're interested in working with the federal government. And one of the things, among many, many things that we provide support in, is how to get registered in the system for award management. If you're interested in working with the federal government at any level, again, whether that is military base, the Army Corps of Engineers, anything that is considered a federal entity, your business needs to be registered in SAM, the System for Award Management. Not only because they need to have the information at hand in order to confirm that you are a legitimate company, that you're eligible for a certain set asides, but it's also you put in information so they can pay you. There's financial information you put in. It all is secure, confidential, only to those that get you paid. But it is something that is mandatory at the federal level, and PTAC counselors can assist you in learning more about that and how to get registered. System for Award Management is one of those programs that we try to reiterate over and over. There is no cost to register your business in SAM. There's no cost to renew your registration, your annual registration. If someone contacts you by email or phone and says, hey, your SAM account isn't complete, you're missing something, or you need to renew it, let us help you. We want people to know that there are some entities and businesses out there that will do that in order to charge a fee for them to help you. I recommend if you get those emails, I can guarantee you're going to get some right after you register with SAM, don't jump the gun and ask for their assistance. Contact your PTAC counselor to confirm whether or not you are legitimately getting a message from the federal service desk, or if you're getting the message from an outside third-party entity that wants to charge you fees to help you out to update it. When you register with SAM, you do it the first time. You go through the processes and we can help you understand what those little steps are as you do it, and you renew it annually. When you sit down to do your SAM profile, you need to have some things at hand. You probably want to have your cell phone so that if they send your security code, which you will need, to access your SAM profile, have that phone ready so you can get that by text. You need a DUNS number. You can get your DUNS number free from Dun & Bradstreet. If you're not familiar with that, contact PTAC, we'll help you out. You need your taxpayer identification number, or TIN, and the taxpayer name that is associated with your TIN. This is information that has to be consistent so that how you're registered with the IRS must match exactly how you registered your business in SAM. Otherwise, it will cause a hiccup and everything will be put on hold until you can prove that everything is consistent with tax records with the IRS. So make sure you've got that with you too. You need to have bank information. That is the information on how to put a direct deposit into your account. Again, those of us that can see your SAM profile so we can see what your certifications are, we have no access to your bank information. That is strictly confidential and only viewable to those that need to have it in order to pay you for your services. And you need to know what your NAICS codes are. For those not familiar with that, that's another acronym. It stands for the North American Industry Classification System. And there is a code, I believe they are, I want to say 6 digits, 5 or 6 digits, assigned to just about every service or product out there. So if you're in construction, there are specific codes that refer to different types of construction. If you're a manufacturer, there are codes affiliated with manufacturing of certain products, and they're all in a gigantic database. You can get help with from PTAC to find that database and how to look up what NAICS codes are most likely to be the best match for your service or products that you supply. So we can help you with those. Question from Connie, where do I find my TIN? I believe that is through your tax records, the IRS. If you're not sure, I would take a look at your business license or your tax records that you have completed over the past year or so, and the TIN should be listed there. If you're not sure, contact us and we can help get some information in writing to clarify where you get that. Will an EIN be acceptable? Yes, it's either the TIN or the EIN. Depending on your business and what your situation is, you would enter one or the other for that. Thank you for asking that question. I appreciate it. This is what SAM looks like when you pull it up. You know, there may be some of you that already have a SAM that registered your business 2-3 years ago. But if you have accessed your SAM profile in the last 6 months or so, you might notice that it does look different than you're used to in the past. This is because SAM.gov has now, it went through quite a few changes really over the past couple of years. And there were, I think, about 9 or more actual websites that were integrated into one site, and they are all under SAM.gov now. So FedBizOps, where you look at contract opportunities, it used to be called FBO.gov. Their contract data from a database that used to be called the FPDS. A number of different things have been integrated into one to hopefully make it more user-friendly. I will say that for the most part, my clients are telling me it's fairly easy to use. There are some cases it's a little bit difficult to find something when you first are looking at the new version, but we're here to help you with that. We've had a lot of training on SAM and the changes that were coming and where to find things in your account, how to update your entity. So if you're not sure, no need to just dive in it on your own. Give PTAC a call, get set up. We can walk you through it if we need to. We'll help make sure. Up in the right-hand corner, you'll notice it's circled sign in. You cannot access anything in SAM anymore unless you sign in to your user account. Again, this is another level of security that's been added. The Federal Service Desk and SAM.gov don't want to have things accessible that shouldn't be. It's very, very secure. And I want you to see also under the circled part where it says the official US government website, 100% free. Constant reminder that you can handle your own SAM profile, update your profile, make changes in it at absolutely no cost. If you need help doing it, get in touch with us and we'll help walk you through the process. Small business certifications are some things that PTAC helps with on a regular basis. We have people that are looking at getting certified so they can have that formal certification, maybe qualify for some set-asides for those that are businesses and categories that they're needing. And some of the examples of certifications that you might qualify for as a small business at the federal level. There's what's called the historically underutilized business zone or hub zones. We'll go into those in more detail. There's women-owned small businesses, veteran-owned small businesses, service-disabled veteran-owned small business, and the 8A Business Development Program. And we'll go into a little detail on each of those for you right now. The Hub Zone program, historically underutilized business zone program, is very unique because it is designed to incentivize businesses and the federal government to work with small businesses located in areas that are really have not had as many businesses get involved in government contracting. It's based on census data and populations and everything really through the United States Census. These zones are areas that are designated by the government as economically disadvantaged because of the high employment, poverty, other conditions that may be taking place in those areas. And some of the federal contracts are set aside for competition among hub zone firms exclusively. Others are sole source for hub zone. Again, like I mentioned before, the federal government's required to subcontract or contract with small businesses that are certified for specific reasons. And hub zone happens to be one that it's the most challenging for some federal entities to meet those goals. And we can go into a little more detail on that. If you'd like to call PTAC, we can give you a little more detail. It really is here to help small businesses in the urban and rural communities to get some preferential access to federal contracts. There are sections of Eastern Washington that are currently designated hub zones, which can be beneficial to your small business if that is where you're located and you meet the specific requirements of that certification. Those qualifications include that the business is small in the eyes of the government based on your NAICS code and what you do. The business must be owned and controlled by US citizens, must have their principal office located in a designated hub zone, and the business must have at least 35% of its employees residing within a hub zone. Keep in mind, the employee does not have to reside in the same hub zone as your primary business office, but they must reside within a hub zone based on the government's information. You can find out if your small business is within a hub zone by going to the hub zone map. The link is here. You can click on that and it will take you to a map. You simply put in your address and it will pop up and let you know whether that is or is not a confirmed hub zone. On the next slide, I believe we've got an example of what that looks like when you fill out the information on the hub zone map.
Before we jump to the next slide, Jody, we did have a question in the chat box. It says, for hub zone certification, does the company need to operate at least 3 years before applying, or any new company can apply for it at any time?
Great question, Mohammed. No, you don't have to be in business for a specific period of time. It can be a relatively new business, but keep in mind that when you're looking at the number of employees and a percentage of employees that reside within a hub zone, one of the key elements is that the employees must have resided within a hub zone for at least 180 days. So while your business doesn't have to be in business 3 years or more to qualify, that portion of the qualifications regarding the employees and their residence, that would be at least 180 days. So it's an excellent question. It can be a little confusing, so it's good to double check with your PTAC counselor to be sure that you'll be able to meet that requirement. Excellent question, thank you. So this is what you see when you go to that hub zone map. Initially, up on the left side, you will see a place where you can fill in the address that you're thinking of. So you would fill in your primary place of business, where your business office is, whether that be a home office or that a business that you rent or lease a building or an office space. You put that address in, click enter, and it will automatically pop up with a map that looks like this. And where it's in the green, where you see the qualified hub zone, that's telling you that that particular address, in this case, I just put in Pasco, does qualify as a hub zone. And the reasoning under it, because it's part of the census tract that determined that in the eyes of the federal government. When you put your own address or your employees' addresses in, it will come up with a similar map, tell you where it's pointing to. The grids will tell you whether it is current or in process or transitioning, or it has been transitioning. That's where the lines are. But the main thing you want to look for is the green qualified hub zone, and you want to keep track of your office and your employees so we can determine if you're going to be able to meet that 35% requirement on that. Diana has a quick question. I have part-time seasonal employees. Will my company, which is located in the hub zone, be allowed the designation? You know, Diana, that's one that I think it depends on the situation and how much time they work. And maybe Alicia can step in and help me with that too, because I usually need to reread it to be sure I've got that correct. But I do believe you can have temporary or seasonal employees, but they have to reside within a hub zone for a specified period of the year. Alicia, does anything else jump out at you that we wanted to double check?
Well, Diana, you picked a really good question, because that is actually it can be a tricky question. It really depends on when you apply for hub zone certification as well. So if you apply for your hub zone certification while these part-time seasonal employees are working for your company, they do need to be included on the payroll. You will need to include their addresses. They will count toward your hub zone certification. I have seen situations where it's the winter time and they're not working, so they're not on the payroll and haven't been on the payroll for the designated amount of time. So therefore they don't count. But as soon as they are back on the payroll, you do need to make sure they're in the hub zone. The rules and regulations have changed a little bit on that. So we would need to do a little bit deeper dive on that question specifically as we're going through the application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great question, Diana. And as you can see, it's not one that is such an easy answer on that one, because it does depend on when you do the app, if they're still there, if they move back. Also, the same thing applies when you renew your HubZone certification after about 3 years. I think they ask for a renewal, that seasonal employees may come into play. So it's best to talk with PTAC and double check at the time that you're looking at applying and see. And if we're not sure, we have direct information. We've got direct contact with the actual certifiers at SBA that do nothing but HubZone, and we can ask for clarification for you. Thank you, Diana. Okay, next one. So covered HubZone, let's look now at the women-owned small business. The women-owned small business contract program at the federal level allows set-asides for industries, women-owned small business in specific industries where that type of firm is underrepresented. Just thinking back, the way I describe it is if you go back a number of decades, many times the businesses that were involved in government contracting weren't owned by women. This is something that has been stronger and stronger over time. More and more women are getting into business. But there are some industries that there aren't nearly as many women-owned businesses, maybe certain types of construction, excavation. There are a number of NAICS codes that are pertinent to this. And the SBA has, I think, over 270 right now that are NAICS codes that literally have been underrepresented when it comes to being woman-owned over the years. And so this is another opportunity to kind of level that playing field. When it comes to the women-owned small business cert, you need to be small business based on the SBA size standards and in plain language. That is information that has to do with either the gross income that you get on an annual basis in your business, averaged over 3 to 5 years, and or the number of employees you have when you're looking at that specific area of expertise, which is the NAICS code that helps clarify that for the government. So, and it sounds a little confusing, but again, that's why you want to talk to a PTAC counselor, because we can find out. We can get that list of NAICS codes that apply to a specific set-asides for women-owned or economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses that might give you priority status. We can help clarify that for you. The key thing on this, when you're talking about women-owned small business, that business must be at least 51% owned and controlled by women who are United States citizens. That is, the women must manage the day-to-day operations and make the long-term decisions. When it comes to federal contracting, you do not want to falsify any information. So if a gentleman out there says, I think I can do this if I just make my significant other, my wife or my sister, be the owner, and then I'll take care of everything else, that doesn't work with the federal government. Get in touch with your PTAC counselor and talk about exactly what would qualify you and how you prove it, because you will be asked to prove that that individual, that female, is in charge of the day-to-day decisions and operations for that business. Don't try to falsify that. It's not a good idea. And if you ever want to know why, give me a call. So that's a basic rundown on women-owned. Veteran-owned small business is another one that is really beneficial for people to consider if the owner of a company is a veteran. For those of you that are, thank you for your service. This program is really reserved for small business owners that are United States veterans, and it includes those determined to be service-disabled veterans by the VA. The certification adds credibility to the owner's claimed veteran or service-disabled veteran status, and it really can be a helpful tool in marketing to both government and commercial marketplaces. There are a lot of entities out there that prefer to hire, subcontract out and hire veteran-owned businesses and veterans because of their strong belief in the service of our country. In this case, the business has to be at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more veterans or service-disabled veterans, and one or more veterans that manage the day-to-day operations and making those long-term decisions for the business as a whole. This is one that we can talk to you about different avenues. You may want to look at the SBA's veteran-owned small business certification, or if you want to work with the VA itself and look at contract opportunities with the Veterans Administration, then we can guide you on another certification through the VA. There are different options, and depending on your situation and your goals with regard to federal contracting, your PTAC counselor can help you determine which is best or both. Next. And there's a program called the 8A Business Development Program. That is a program that offers really a lot of different forms of assistance, very broad scope. And if you contact your PTAC counselor, we can get you more detail. It's a little more detail than we have time to go into today. But this is, it's really good because it has to do with providing support and assistance and a great deal of guidance for minority-owned businesses, depending on the type of certification, whether it be woman-owned, veteran-owned, disadvantaged, these kind of things. And one of the major benefits is that you can receive federal contracting preference in the form of set-asides or sole source. That is, if there's a certain minimum number of companies that it's determined are out there that have the skills and abilities to provide the service that that federal entity is looking for, they can set it aside or say, we are solely looking for 8A certified businesses, again, to meet the goals that the federal government sets down for them. Generally, the 8A program is limited to small businesses that are, in the eyes of the government, unconditionally owned and controlled by one or more socially and economically disadvantaged individuals who are of good character, citizens of the United States, and demonstrate a potential for success in whatever type of service that they are looking for. So it's an excellent program, something that you may want to talk to your PTAC counselor about and see if that's something you may qualify for. Mohammed asks, can the same company apply for both HUBZone and AA certifications? Great question. Yes, you can. The HUBZone is, keep in mind the qualifications for each are completely different, but you can definitely apply for and qualify for potentially more than one certification. So if you think that you, based on your location and your employees' residence, in the 35%, if you would be able to qualify HUBZone, definitely talk to us about looking at that. If you are a minority-owned business that might qualify for the 8A, definitely talk to us about that. There are no barriers to applying and being certified in both. We recommend you look at every opportunity to be formally certified in every section that you think you can. We want to open the doors because keep in mind those federal government entities, they need to meet those goals. And if you qualify to help them meet more than one of those goals, they want to know who you are, and we can help you get that done. Next up. Just a kind of an idea of some success stories to give you an idea of why this is a great idea in working with PTAC, because the results can come through for you. Some examples, there was an analytical lab up in Grant County within my region. They were interested in HUBZone certification. Actually, the United States Army Corps of Engineers said, we've got something coming up that we want to hire you. But you know what? We also need to meet this HUBZone goal. Can you help us out? They contacted PTAC. I did my homework. We verified that they might qualify for HUBZone. I sat down with them and got the entire application taken care of and put that application in. They ended up getting HUBZone certified. Army Corps of Engineers hired them. Both of them won. The contract award was valued at over $106,000 when we got that done. Worked with a construction firm in Southeast Kennewick area, and they needed to get their SAM profile up to date. They hadn't considered federal contracting for a while, and there was a request for proposal for construction work, and they wanted a veteran to do it. So I actually called them and said, you're in my database. We need to get some things updated. If you're interested in doing it, we completed all the different steps that we needed to. They responded to the request for proposal, and the resultant was 2 awards at the Yakima Training Center, over $250,000. And also an engineering firm in the Kennewick area needed some help, some requirements that were there. They needed clarification on some things, made sure their certification was up to date, and they were awarded a contract at Hanford for over $1.2 million. These are situations that you very well may be able to do on your own, but it is beneficial to contact PTAC and get guidance and find out the best way to get things completed within the timeframes that are required and those opportunities coming up. Doesn't cost you anything. We're here to help you out, and we're more than happy to help clarify any questions that come up for you. Again, if we don't have the answer, we will find out who has the answer and we'll get that to you.
All right. Well, we're going to shift gears from certifications and go into some essential marketing tools, because you guys are going to need these no matter which certifications you pursue, whether it's going to be with OMWBE or on the federal side of things with Jody and myself. So there's a few different basic marketing tools you're going to need to start with, and that's for anything. And having these tools for commercial markets, government markets, anywhere in between, it's really, really important for your business. It's one of the ways that your business is going to succeed. So those 3 marketing tools that we're going to briefly cover today, we're not going to dive too far in depth with them, because we could do hour-long sessions on actually each one of these. So we'll save you that and save it for another day, and get a hold of Jody and myself, and we will dive as deep as you would like to go with all of these. So the first one is a capability statement. The second one is effective elevator speech. And the third one is consistent marketing profiles. You might be scratching your head on the third one, but once again, we'll dive a little bit deeper into all of them. So, here we go. So what's a capability statement? So a good definition is a sufficient outline of your company's capabilities and how they relate to the government marketplace. I like to tell my clients that it's essentially a resume for your business. It's how you communicate your core competencies. It's how you communicate what you're capable of. It's the best way to get your capabilities in front of a contracting officer or your point of contact in a manner that is quick and easy and efficient. So some attributes of a strong capability statement is that it's formatted so the reader doesn't have to hunt for information. Jody and myself have several templates for capability statements. We've got one that's specifically approved by the Navy. So if you're looking to work with the Navy, definitely ask us about that one. It's relevant to the reader. So it's not what you want them to know, it's what they need to know about you. So when you go through your capability statement, it's really good to have somebody who has no idea about your business to read that, because it'll let you know whether or not you need to change it and how you could be more efficient. Jody and myself, as long as our entire state crew, we will walk you through a capability statement step by step. If you already have a rough draft of one and you want us to fine tune it, we can help you with that too. I myself will go through it, and then I always ask a second PTAC counselor to review it as well, because I am a firm believer that more than one set of eyes is beneficial to you guys. Before I send it to another counselor, I always ask permission though, because your guys' information is important, and we like to keep you confidential as we go through all of these things with you. So it tells the contracting officer what they need to know. So it's, once again, it's about them. It's not about you. And that's very important as we move forward, because your job is to provide a solution to their problem. So what does a contracting officer want to know? So they want to know your contact information. We always have that on the front and the back because it's easy for them to find. Pertinent codes. So on the federal level, because you would have a separate one for state level and one for federal level because they have different information. So you'll need your pertinent codes. On the federal level, that's your DUNS number, your CAGE code, and your NAICS codes. On the state level, those are going to be your commodity codes instead. Geographical coverage and availability. So if you are looking to do business in a certain geographical area, or if that information is pertinent for them to know, like for fast delivery, add that. If it's not something that is crucial, you don't need to include it. Your areas of expertise or your core competencies, those we usually put right out in front. The government agencies like to know right away whether you are the person for them. Your past performance or your customers, or sometimes we refer to this as experience. So past performance is when you have actually been in the government area for a little while. Maybe you have subcontracted on a few things and you have your past performance reviews, or you have been the prime contractor on a few contracts. We usually keep that to 3 years. So experience or customers, we like to use experience more. That is more about you and about the experience you have had in the commercial realm as opposed to past performance. We don't use both. We only use one or the other because that is a identifier to whether or not you have experienced the government marketplace or kind of that you're just kind of getting your feet wet. So the small business disadvantage certifications, if you do have a certification, we always encourage you to list it because it is good for the government to be able to see right out the gate. So if they are looking for somebody that's a hub zone, which that is the only set aside goal the government never ever meets, then it's good for them to know. If you don't have any of the certifications, put that you're a small business on there. It's good for them to be able to know that right out the gate so they don't have to go hunting through the dynamic search for small business to find out whether or not you are a small business. It makes it easier for them to understand. Extra relevant information. So key personnel experience. Once again, if you are using experience as opposed to past performance, that is really relevant information that could help get your foot in the door. Industry licenses, quality assurance certifications, or bonding levels, especially if you're a construction company, bonding levels are important. It helps them let them know that you are bonded to and capable of doing the work that you are going to bid on. And security clearances, well, for those of you that want to work on a military base, such as the Navy or with Army Corps of Engineers or any of the Air Force bases, security clearances are important. If you don't have those clearances, you aren't going to be able to work on a base. So some ways you will use your capability statement. You can use them as follow-up communications after phone calls or appointments. So if you are reaching out to a contracting officer to build relationships, you always ask them, hey, can I send you my capability statement? If you're at an event such as Meet the Bigs or Bridging Partnerships or Alliance Northwest, take your capability statements with you because you're not going to have that time to have that full-on conversation that you really want to have because it's busy there. So you leave your capability statement. You ask them, can I leave this with you? If they are not the person that you need to talk to, ask them if they'll pass it along to the appropriate contact, or ask them who you need to contact to give the capability statement to. Use it as a takeaway with your elevator speech. So as you're going through your elevator speech, or if you, Alliance Northwest has matchmaking in traditional forms. We even did matchmaking virtually last year. It turned out really well, or this year. It turned out really well. Use it. Say, hey, can I leave this with you for some additional information? It has my contact information, so we can continue this conversation later. Include it with your proposals or quotes as appropriate. Some proposals and quotes will ask you for a capability statement or a statement of qualifications or a capabilities narrative. So if that is the case, definitely include them. If it is not, don't. Put it on your website as a PDF. That makes it easier for the contracting officer to just download it and keep it and have it in their files, because there's some smaller contracts or even micro purchases where they don't have to post the information at all, which if you guys are curious, we can dive into that at a different time. We won't dive into that piece today, but it makes it to where your information is on hand and it's easily accessible. If you don't have it on your website already, you could always create a government tab specifically for the government contracts that you are looking for, and then have it there. So then they can download it, they can print it. If you do that, and we will go through this with you guys entirely, make sure your capability statement is readable in black and white. It is very important. We don't all have color printers. I have a black and white printer at my desk. If they can't read it in black and white, chances are they probably won't keep it. Give to contracts at trade shows. So like I was talking about before, we were talking about Meet the Bigs and Bridging Partnerships and Alliance Northwest. Take them with you, have them ready. So this is a sample of a capability statement. I see Jody coming on. Do we have a question?
And just one thing to keep in mind is when you get certified, or a new certification is completed, make sure that you update your capability statement with that information too, so that it's current, up to date, ready to go.
Yeah, and on that note, that you brought up a really good point. Your capability statement is a fluid document. It's good to have one as a general overview, just as a broad specification of what, or broad categories of what you do. But as you're approaching certain contracting officers, it is exactly like a resume in this piece of it. When you apply for a new position or apply for a new job opportunity, you always fine tune your resume to use those keywords to emphasize on those skill sets. It's the same thing with your capability statement. So when you are going to hand it to, Mr. Gilbert at Fairchild Air Force Base, and you are a small commercial framer, and you really, really want to talk about those things. He doesn't want to know about your electrical components if you are specifically talking about your framing capabilities. Fine tune those capability statements. And once again, you're going to have different ones for the federal marketplace and the state marketplace, because there's different things that you are going to be asked. So once again, this is a sample of it. Make sure your contact information is easy to find. So we usually put those on the front and the back of your capability statement, so the government agency does not have to go looking for you. Your core competencies, bullets are easy to read. They're easy to understand. It's a quick, brief overview for the government agency, because, chances are they're not going to have a ton of time to read a lot of verbiage. Keep the technical jargon out of it. That contracting officer might be the one that's writing that contract, might not be the one that's writing that contract. It really just depends on the situation. And if you're using a lot of technical lingo that they don't understand, they might save it, but it's still going to be hard for them, because they aren't the end user. 9 times out of 10, they aren't the end customer. So you have to keep those things in mind. Past performance, that's government contracts. Differentiators, that's what makes you different from the competition.
Nice thing is we at PTAC, we can provide you with templates to get you started. If you're not real sure how to get everything down on paper that clarifies what you have, just let your PTAC counselor know. We can provide some templates to get you started, and then we will review and give you feedback to help you finalize each version before you decide to start using it to market your business. So we're here to help with that too.
Yep, absolutely. So elevator speech. So I just touched base on the elevator speech, how your capability statement kind of goes along with your elevator speech. So, a lot of times we don't think of it as an elevator speech. Some people call it an elevator pitch, but it is a sufficient verbal introduction of your company to another person or agency. So there are several attributes of a strong elevator speech. Use it as an introduction as opposed to a sales pitch. You are introducing yourself and your company. You have 8 seconds to impress somebody. And if you are coming off super salesy, you have probably already lost the person that you are talking to. Your key information is included in the first several sentences. So key information would be what you do or what solutions you can provide. One of our colleagues, actually, Lisa, has a very, very good class on elevator speeches and ways to take them from your basic, hi, my name's Alicia Rodell, I'm a PTAC counselor, to making them into something extravagant. I attended the class. I absolutely loved the class. If you see it on the events calendar, I highly encourage you to take it. So always follow up with a hard copy takeaway, your business card or your capability statement. It gives them something to remember you by. There's usually some keywords that they'll pick up during your elevator speech, but then if you give them your business card or your capability statement, after you walk away, they can jot down notes. So, oh, hey, this person does that. Bob over here is a contracting, he does general contracting, and he has all the people and certifications that I need to be able to meet my goals. Is respectful of the person's time and attention span. So watch the body language. That's really important. So it's really good to have different levels of elevator speeches, which once again, our colleague, she goes through the different levels of elevator speeches, whether it's a 30-second elevator speech, whether it's a quick 10-second elevator speech, or if you have the time, up to a 2-minute elevator speech. So just pay attention to those, the body language and the time. If you're at a trade show, chances are they're not going to have a ton of time unless it's maybe during that matchmaking session where you have a couple designated minutes with that person. So make sure it's, solution-based forward and that you are very respectful of that. Keep it professional. You don't ever want to use like slang when you're doing your elevator speech, or even keep the technical jargon out of it. Make it easy to understand. It tells the person you are speaking to what they want to know. It's not about you, it's about them. So what are public profiles? Okay, I kind of told you might scratch your head on this one. So public profiles are basically anything that is public facing that discusses your business. It could be the window front in your store. It could be your website. It could be your business card. It is your capability statement. But your public profile is much, much more than what is on this screen. But when we talk about government contracting, that's going to be your SAM profile, or your System for Awards Management profile, which is also attached to the SBA's Dynamic Search for Small Business, or your SBA profile. The OMWBE directory, or your DB/DBE directory. All of those things need to be parallel. They all need to match. The government does their homework just like you do. So if your SAM profile says that you are a plumber and your website says something completely different, that's a red flag to the government. So everything needs to match. And this one thing that's not on here is your capability statement. So like make sure your website logos and colors are the same as your capability statement, and your SAM profile directly reflects what your website says. Keep it all parallel, because if you are going through and it's a lot of misinformation, you will not win those contracts. So another thing that PTAC has, we didn't really touch base with this in the agenda or anything like that, but as a PTAC client, there are some other benefits you receive. You can go on Gavology without being a PTAC client. Their classes are generally about $75 a piece. They can go up from there. They do have free classes periodically, but Gavology is an online support community for small businesses that are pursuing government contracts. There is a wealth of knowledge there. Carol Bernard, who's the founder or co-founder of Gavology, was a PTAC counselor. He's been a contracting officer. He's worked in the government side of things. So he has a wealth of knowledge, and his team with trusted resources, like I said, the knowledge base is pretty much endless when it comes to government contracting. So the Gavology team connects with small businesses with trusted resources, experts, and support so they can learn, prepare, and connect. It also helps you win contracts. So when you understand the government marketplace, you are more likely to win a contract, and you are more likely to understand the terms and conditions of the contract also the rules and regulations. So like the FAR provisions, or the Federal Acquisition Regulations, like Jody said, lots of acronyms. They do live monthly webinars, and then they also have a lot of on-demand training. And there's lots of topics related to government contracting. They actually have a tab that is like government fundamentals. And that's a really, really good place to start, because it really breaks it down from the very beginning. Us as PTAC counselors, we do sometimes refer you to those classes or those recordings, because some of it is more broke down and more specific to what you need than we sometimes have the availability to go through with you. But we always like to follow up with you after you get done with these Gavology trainings, because we want to know what questions you have, what wasn't covered, and if you understood the information that was being given to you as well. So once you are a PTAC client and we work with you, so there is a code that we can give you so you don't have to pay that $75 to watch it. So as one of the benefits, you can watch those videos for free or attend the lives for free.
Yeah, the other neat thing too, when you're a client of ours and we get you that code, we know you're very busy, and so do the guys at Gavology. You can go into the on-demand, find a category or webinar that you'd like to take at your leisure, and you can sign up for it, use our code to purchase it, if you will, at no cost, and it'll go into basically your library of trainings. And then when you're finished with your business day or week, and you have time to take the full 1 hour or so training, you can do that at your leisure simply by registering and having them put it in your library. It's a wonderful resource, and we highly recommend that you take a look at it.
And they don't always, it's not a one and done class. So a lot of rules and regulations change. So Govology takes the time to update those courses too. So when the woman-owned business certification changed, they did refresher courses constantly as though all those were changing. When the HubZone certification changed, they did refresher courses too. So it not only helped us keep in track with all the new rules and regulations, it's a good way to help keep you on track as well. So here's an example of the Govology website. So if you would like to have the code, talk to your specific PTAC counselor, because they're going to know what is going to be most beneficial to you. You would add the classes to your cart, put the code, click apply, continue to payment. So one thing to note at the top of this screen that we didn't circle or emphasize. So Jody was referring to those lists of trainings that if you add them to your cart and save them for later and you missed a live, you can always go up here to this one drop down that says My Govology. It'll have a list of all of the trainings that you have registered for. And it'll let you know whether you've completed them or not. Because like she said, you guys are very, very busy. And sometimes you forget the title of the class that you have already taken. And if you don't, the certifications tab, that's not necessarily for you guys. We take these classes from time to time as well. It helps us, stay on top of things and keeps us refreshed. So that tab, you guys don't really need to, you guys can just ignore. The training tab, that's the one where we talk about the live trainings, the recorded and the government fundamentals. So that one is a pretty good one to go look through. Plans and pricing. So there are fee-based memberships that you can get through Govology. We're not going to touch base on that today. If you want to dive deeper, that's a one-on-one session. So once again, you can access Govology and some on-demand courses for free, but you have to contact your PTAC counselor. We don't just give those out to everybody. So a couple of other things. So vendor registrations. So PTAC can help you find the appropriate registrations websites for your business. Examples of those. So we work on the federal, state, and local levels. So local levels, and some of these can be considered state level too, like the police and fire districts, because you'll have your city police, your county police, your state, troopers and stuff like that. So school districts, park and recreations, cities. Spokane doesn't have a port, but Tri-Cities does, and other places across the state do as well. So police, like I said, state, county, local levels, fire districts. So on the county levels, so that would be like Spokane County, Kennewick, or whichever county, Okanagan County, whichever county you live in. Some of them use what is called MRSC rosters. Those are usually municipalities, but some counties use that system as well. That's free to register in. So on the state level, that's usually the Department of Enterprise Services, or you'll often hear another acronym. We call it WEBS. If you're interested, we'll dive deeper into that. On the federal side of things, that's SAM, so the System for Awards Management. You must be in SAM to do business with the federal government, as Jody has already went through with you guys. Hanford is considered federal. Army Corps of Engineers is considered federal. Fairchild Air Force Base is considered federal. The registration websites are literally endless. And that's one of the reasons why we will be discussing bid match as well, because you could spend days looking for opportunities. But we have bid match to help. So like Jody said, this is one of the very, very, very few fee-based services that PTAC has. So it helps you find government opportunities with just one click. And just one click means that after you get the email, you click on My Bid Match, you look at all the opportunities that are for you and read through them, and then you can decide which ones you want to bid on and which ones you don't. So that's on the federal, state, and local level. And in your email every day, it really depends on your search criteria. Some people get it once a week, some people every 2 weeks, some people every day, every other day. It really just depends on your company and the search criteria that you enter into your bid match application. So it's bid opportunities from city, county, state, federal governments across the United States. So they search over 1,500 different websites, BidMatch does. So that saves you so much time. One thing that it's, for free for the first 30 days. So that's one thing to keep in mind. We don't ask for any payment information then. So after you try it out, if you decide, oh, hey, this is, there's a lot of opportunities coming in for this. Or if it doesn't, then maybe it's just not right for you. So that you don't do it. They'll say it's time to renew or time to pay. And then you just say, I'm sorry, this isn't for me. And then we just deactivate the account, or you then pay the $165 a year. Similar services from third-party organizations, I have seen cost up to $5,000. So keep that in mind. You will be contacted by businesses or organizations that do, once again, the fee-based services, and they can be pretty costly for your small business. And when you're just getting started, money is keeping your money tight and keeping it in order is pretty important. So we do have a 5-minute video that talks about how BidMatch works and what BidMatch is that we're going to play for you today. But one thing to know, OMWBE does offer BidMatch for, I believe it's a year, and feel free to chime in on this because I'm probably getting this piece wrong. But we can touch base on this a little bit deeper. Oh, are you there? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, so it's state certified firms that are already certified with us, up to 300 free subscriptions. So we still have 123-ish still left. And it is for the 1 year, like you said, once you sign up, and then you'll get a whole year of free BidMatch. Which includes one thing I really like about it is you actually get to work with the PTAC advisor. It's not a matter of them just setting it up for you and then you go figure it out. They'll work with you and help you with keywords, so you get the bid matches that you're actually looking for. So I think it's a great service. That's why we decided to offer a 1-year free subscription. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So Pam, that's only for those that actually get certified at the state level with OMWBE. Once they are certified, they qualify. Is that correct?
Correct, for state certification, because the monies we're using is for from a diversity study back in 2017, and it's specifically related to state certified firms.
Excellent.
As
Thank
compared
you so
to
much.
the federal. Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, we are going to jump into this video, and it might take me a minute to get over to it.
This video is being brought to you by
Perfect.
Washington PTAC, where businesses can find assistance finding, bidding on, and winning government contracts. Let's start by exploring what BidMatch services are. Bid matching is a fee-based service that uses algorithms based on keywords and industry codes to search public procurement sites for solicitations. BidMatch services are typically geared towards businesses who want to locate bidding opportunities in federal, state, or local governments. The results are sent back to the subscriber's email with links to relevant solicitations and notices of bidding opportunities. The cost of these services typically range from $300 to $600 annually. So what does the PTAC BidMatch service offer? Washington PTAC offers a BidMatch service for clients who are pursuing government contracting opportunities. With one click, PTAC clients can receive bidding opportunities delivered to their inbox. The Washington PTAC BidMatch uses the same web crawling programs other BidMatch providers use, but because this program is subsidized, the cost is considerably less at $165 per year. Another feature is the initial 30-day trial. This gives you time to find the correct balance of keywords and codes before you commit to an annual subscription. Please note, occasionally Washington PTAC is able to offer scholarships. Check out the PTAC BidMatch page often for details. Not in Washington State? No problem. Visit aptac-us.org to find the PTAC in your local area. If you are a Washington-based firm interested in government contracting opportunities, the solution is one click away. It's important to note, in order to take advantage of the BidMatch subscription opportunities, you must first be registered as a PTAC client. The benefits of this will be explored later in this video. You will first create a business profile, which will include your business contact information, as well as any codes or certifications you might already have. The Washington PTAC Bid Match Services searches over 1,600 websites looking for bidding opportunities. If you are looking for subcontracting opportunities, you may want to include Blue Tops. If federal opportunities are what you're looking for, then you may want to try SAM.gov, DLA, or other small purchases opportunities. USA Bid will return state and local solicitations, and if you are interested in selling overseas, you can check the foreign trade opportunities. You also may want to specifically narrow your search to a particular state. Federal entities use industry codes to identify procurements. If you know your NAICS codes, you can enter them here. Or talk to your PTAC advisor about finding the best codes for you. You will also want to include some keywords and phrases that NAICS codes may not capture, but are important to define exactly what you do. Federal supply groups are another way the algorithms match bidding opportunities. You may want to pick the one that matches you the best, either in services or supplies. Before submitting, it is important to note that you will more than likely be adjusting your choices in order to refine your matches. This is easy to do when you use the Washington PTAC Bid Match. Now it's time to submit. How can you make the most out of the PTAC Bid Match service? Once your application has been processed, matches will happen right away. You will receive links that will take you directly to bidding opportunities. You end up on the agency site where you will find documents, details on bidding, and the registration process. Bid match services can make finding opportunities much easier and often uncovers bid notices you may not have found on your own. Knowing how to respond to solicitations is just as important as finding them. As a PTAC client, you will be able to take advantage of the no-cost advising that PTAC offers. Your bid match enrollment form will be forwarded to the PTAC advisor in your area. Your PTAC advisor will be available to help you fine-tune your bid match results, as well as help you understand the bidding process. Each government agency is different, and the process to bid can be overwhelming. Your PTAC advisor can help you and is only one click away. Washington PTAC, where businesses can find no-cost assistance finding, bidding on, and winning government contracts.
So with that being said, does anybody have any questions about the bid match opportunities that we have? But I guess that kind of segues right into our next slide. So thank you guys all for joining us. We are going to open the floor up for questions. I do see that there is a ton in the chat box. But we also, as we are going through questions, we also have a survey that we would like you guys to go ahead and take a moment and go fill it out as we're here. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. We have a few questions about today's event and some things that we could do better in the future. So please go ahead and hop on there. The more feedback we get, the better we can make our future events. So that's very important to all of us at OMWBE and Washington PTAC.
So anything specific to bid match? One of them, my Heather says, are there bid matches for virtual assistants or just contractors? You know, I'm not certain on that one. It would depend on what solicitations come through our system. You know, if it was a solicitation that looks like it might be a match for you, take a look at the details of the solicitation and ask if it has to do with a virtual version or if it's live service or products that they need, Heather. So it really is it's determined by whomever writes that solicitation and the exact phrasing. So it's very important that if you see something, it looks like it might be a match, something of interest to you, read through that solicitation very carefully and find out. If you're not sure, generally with a solicitation, there'll be a contact person and contact information, so you can reach out to them directly and ask them for clarification on that if you'd like to.
Heather, did we answer your question, or is there something that you could okay, perfect, thank you.
Of course you did, great. Anthony's got one. After completed paperwork, do you help seal the contract? And the second part of that, do all paperwork, or does all paperwork need to be signed and completed before accepting or wanting to jump into bids? Think on that one, Alicia.
Well, Anthony, so we don't get to help seal the deal. That's not what we get to do. We can help you understand the paperwork. We can help you go through the solicitation documents. We can help you understand the terms and conditions, but really sealing the deal for the contract is going to be the contracting officer's determination at the end of the day. So they have evaluation criteria as they go through your submitted documents. And it's always very, very important, and PTAC can help you go through and make sure that you are checking all the boxes off when you go through the evaluation criteria. We can make sure you have all of the appropriate, I say paperwork, but I mean, in all reality, everything is like emailed or submitted online these days, pretty much. But we can help you go through the paperwork, make sure that you understand it. If there's pricing information, PTAC cannot tell you how to price your bids. We can help you find historical data to help you better understand what the government is willing to spend. But we can't say, oh yeah, charge them $500 an hour. That's not something that we have the ability to do. That is out of our scope of work. We do have resources to help you determine those. We might refer you to an outside resource to help you better understand your accounting and your pricing protocols and stuff like that, but we can't do that piece for you. As for the second one, do all paperwork need to be signed and completed before expecting or wanting to jump into bids? So we have talked a lot online about this. It depends on what agencies you want to work with. So some agencies have different requirements. So like the federal government requires you to be registered in SAM. So that must be done before you can do that. On the state level, before you can even bid on anything, you must be in WEBs. But counties are a little bit different. You got to be registered in their portals too. But paperwork, yes. So paperwork does need to be completed when you submit your bids. Because if you miss something in the terms and conditions, or you miss something in the evaluation criteria, they don't even take the time to read through it. So if you are not compliant when you submit your bid, then they kind of it goes in the round file. I hate to say it, but that's kind of how they work. And most agencies are pretty transparent about that. Is there anything you want to add on that?
Well, yeah, main things to answer every single question that they have in their solicitation and answer it as completely as possible. I would also suggest don't elaborate on things they're not asking. Stick to the question, answer the question exactly as written, because if the CO or contracting officer or program manager wants more detail and they're interested in potentially looking at you as someone that they might want to hire, they will ask you, they'll ask for clarification. Keep in mind that if you have a question about something, somebody else might have the same question. When you reach out to that contracting officer and ask a question, they will not just answer you directly, but they will put it in the list. And Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they will put it in a list of questions that came in, and then they will continue to share that information with potential bidders, so that they know what questions, what answers. They don't cater to any one business in particular. That's a conflict of interest. It's open to everyone to learn if there are questions and the answers to those questions. So those steps. And I agree with Alicia. You want to, you really want to read through carefully, because each of them are different. There are, in some cases, paperwork, some cases just vendor registration and monitor the solicitations on your own. They're all different depending on the government entity that you're talking about working with.
So
Any other questions that are coming up?
Yep. Does anyone have any questions for Pamela over at OMWBE as well? Now's definitely the time to jump in and get those questions answered if you're curious about her state certifications, or if you're a little bit confused about the difference between the federal survey certifications that Jody went through, anything like that.
Mhm. If you're shy, don't worry about that. We've all been here on a Zoom call one or more times. Just go ahead and type in what you'd like to know. This is your chance to get the answer direct from us, and we're here to help you out.
And just a friendly reminder, we will be sending the slide deck out to everyone who has attended today. Once the video has been uploaded to our cloud and we get to review it, it will be posted on our website as well. I think, did we miss a slide in here, or did we, oops. We did. Okay. So I skipped this slide, you guys. But we have events all the time. And in a virtual world, you guys have the benefit from learning from our entire statewide team. You are not restricted to just my scope of knowledge or Jody's scope of knowledge. So, I mean, that's one benefit from COVID, is that now you can see what everybody has to offer. So on our Washington PTAC events page, you can use the link in here directly from the deck you guys will be receiving, or you could go directly to our Washington PTAC website. We do have some events coming up. I am teaching Government Contracting 101 on October 15th at 12 p.m. I do it webinar style, so if you want to bring your lunch, feel free. I can't see you eat, nor will anybody be able to hear you. It'll be just like this, where you put your questions in the Q&A box, the chat box. Feel free to raise your hand at any point in time. I try to keep that one to only about an hour. We do have another one, teaching partnerships and government contracting. If you're teaming partnerships and government contracting, if you're considering teaming up with another company to bid on a contract, I strongly advise you to attend this class. I think a couple of us are going to be attending this class as well on the PTAC side of things. We like to learn from each other, just as you guys have the advantage of learning from us all.
Mhm.
Contract changes and legal disputes, that's going to be a really good one, because there are a lot of contract changes coming up with the new COVID implementations and things like that. That would be a very good to attend. And I believe that one is going to be taught by Terry, and he is very, very knowledgeable in the FAR, or the federal acquisition regulations.
Actually, that one, just to interject there, that one in particular on November 4th is one that I'm hosting with Schoonover and Moriarty. It is a law firm. They are east of us. I think they're in the central United States, and they specialize in small business government contract law. And so that one, yeah, it very well may include some things about COVID and all the fun new rules and things, but it's also a very good general overview about when contract changes happen and how it might affect you, and if you dispute the changes. So very in-depth from a very well-respected law firm. The teaming partnerships is actually going to be a local gentleman that's in charge of the Tri-Cities Local Business Association. So he works with many small businesses, and it's a group that advocates for small businesses getting involved with contracting at the Hanford site here in Southeast Washington. So it'll be a unique perspective, because he has been an executive director. He's been the head of one of the largest contractors that work at Hanford for many years. He knows the ins and outs of what's happening at Hanford, what's coming around the corner, what's good, what's not good with regard to contracting opportunities and changes. So a lot of different perspectives, and like Alicia said, there are so many different opportunities to learn on so many different topics that you really should check out our calendar to see what's coming up as well. I want to throw a quick question before we get to a couple of things. We had a question from James. He said, tell us about the state certification briefly. Is there a significant advantage to being VA certified rather than checking a box, are you a veteran, and just saying, yes, I am a veteran? Well, from my perspective, James, and I don't know if you wanted to hear, I think we want Pamela to chime in, because she talked about state. So this might be pertinent to OMWBE, but in this case, when you can self-certify as VA, as a veteran-owned business But if you want to be considered to work with the VA itself, the Veterans Administration, then there is a specific certification that you go through on that one. It is advantageous because then there is a formal certification that you can show. You can put the logo on your stuff. You can help market your business as a certified veteran-owned business, but you don't have to. But I think if you want to be considered for sole source or set aside as a veteran-owned business, then it's highly advantageous to go through the process and do it. Pamela, do you have anything to chime in on the state cert with veterans that might help him out?
I know that the only thing probably to add is I know that their certification process is quite a bit shorter than ours. And so it's my understanding is it's a lot easier to get through the process a lot quicker and then get veteran owned certified. Do they have questions about the state certification? I wasn't sure if there was a question about that.
Yeah, James, if you want to type a little more and give us a little more detail, are you talking about state cert with regard to OMWBE or SBA?
Or if you would like me to unmute you so you could ask that question live, we are happy to do that as well.
We may have answered it, but
Right on, thank you.
state as well.
State as well as
Do you want
both.
to unmute and just have them clarify if we've answered
I
the
didn't know
question?
if you wanted me to go over the criteria of state or.
Well, let's see, allowed to talk.
Let's see if we can just let you talk straight to us and see what we find out, James.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Hey, I like so many others said, thank you very much for the presentation. I got so busy at work, I didn't know this was going on, and I saw the email and I picked up my phone. So I missed the first hour, so what you're going over maybe something you've already talked about. But once again, thank you so much for your time, all three of you, for hosting this. Well, so my question is, what I do is I'm a behaviorist, but I also provide I have a home care agency that I want to get, also a consulting. So in regard to the state, what certifications do I need to get, or should I look at? I'm trying to uncover every opportunity for me as a business person, as a veteran, as a minority, not just for me, but for my company, which, all my employees, so we can all benefit from it by opening ourselves up to any contract, whether it be federal or state. Is there something that I need to do at the state level to ensure myself, especially if DSHS is doing something, we're getting federal funding, DSHS is getting federal money. I'd like to have the opportunity to be a candidate to submit contracts for that.
From OMWBE's perspective, I would highly encourage you to get state certified as a minority business enterprise, or MBE. I know that DSHS tries to utilize our small certified businesses as much as they can. So I would definitely encourage you, on the slide that's going out, there's a link that takes you directly to where you can apply. And if you're unsure which one to apply for, you can always call our technical assistance line, which actually I don't think that's my direct line. You can call me too, but we have a technical assistance line that's open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. That number is 360-664-9750 instead of the 759. If you call between 8 and 5 Monday through Friday, Analysts will be able to help you get to the state certification application on our website. And that does take, I wasn't sure how much you missed. It takes approximately 60 days to process it once you submit it. So if you're looking at contracts coming up, you probably want to get started on it pretty soon.
Right on. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Pamela, I was going to put that phone number in the chat. Will you say the last 4 digits again?
Sure, you bet. 9750. And one of the options is technical assistance. Not sure which number.
And for the veteran certification, to answer a little bit more of your question, James. So if you want to get veteran certified on the state level, it's a little bit different process than going through OMWBE. You would register in what is referred to as WEBS, so the Washington Enterprise for Business Solutions. That website's a little bit tricky to find, so get a hold of your PTAC counselor for that. We can help walk you through that process. WEBS is actually a fairly easy registration. You just need to know your federal ID for that one. Then you would check the veteran-owned box. From there, you would be referred to the Washington Veterans page, and there is a series of documents that you would need to upload from there. On the federal side of things, Jody touched base on that. You can self-certify in SAM. If you are interested in doing business specifically with the VA, then you would go through the VA's verification program. That is a little bit more of an extensive program and an extensive process. The self-certification in SAM will be going away. We're not quite sure what the date is. We will let you guys know as soon as we know, but they will be moving that from the VA to the SBA or the Small Business Administration at some point in time. So for now, you can self-certify in SAM, but soon, I'd say within the next 5 years or so, we will be moving that from a self-certification to an SBA certification.
Thank you, Alicia. And one other comment, Julie was kind enough to put the email in the chat box for the technical assistance. So feel free to take a look at that and save that email. I know somebody else had asked a little bit earlier that will we provide these slides? Will this recording be available? Yes, it'll be available to all of you. And when it's all taken care of and the recording has been reviewed and authorized by all the parties that are involved in this presentation, then it'll be uploaded onto our Washington PTAC YouTube site. And I believe that a link to that site was on one of the slides that that Alicia shared with you, and you'll get that. So you have access to all of this to go back through at your leisure as well. What other questions pop up? And if we haven't quite clarified something, send us a quick note in the Q&A or the chat, and let's see if we can help you out. Great questions so far. Very important questions.
Just as a friendly reminder, we value your feedback. So please, please, please go through and fill out the survey so that way we can help you better next time and teach the class in a different format if that's what's necessary.
Alicia, I was just going to say, I found the link for veterans to go to certify with the Department of Veteran Affairs here in Washington State. I added the link there. Took me a minute to find it, but so he can self-certify in WEBS, but then he can also go through the DVA and get certified as a veteran. Looks like the process is not very lengthy.
Good. A lot of it really just depends. I'm sorry, go ahead, Alicia.
I just said thank you. And by the way, Pamela, you sent it to me, so I just resent it to you.
Oh, okay, thanks. Whoopsie.
All right.
Been there, done that. What else comes up here? Also, I just want to do a quick reminder that Julie and Elia are here and they are ready to assist. If you have any questions about or a desire to have us do a presentation in Spanish, they're available to help us out. Julie or Elia, would either of you like to comment about what you can do to help our clients that might be interested in that service?
Yeah, I think if you fill out the survey and let us know if you are in need of assistance in Spanish, or in the future, if there's interest in a presentation in Spanish, that would be great feedback if you could provide that in the survey.
Thank you. It's so good to know. And some of you, you may know someone who's in business, someone that you've been working with that might prefer to have this information in Spanish. Feel free to let them know and have them contact one of us so we can get that information to anyone that is interested in looking at those options. And again, in the Survey Monkey, and this is the first time that we've done a collaborative event like this on the east side of Washington. Really appreciate Pamela, Julie, and Elia for being here with us today. We want to do more of these. This is just a great opportunity for us to get feedback from you as the business people. Is this meeting your needs? Was this too long? Was it too short? Was it pretty much right on course? What else can we do to help you? What works well for you? What did we miss? So we can be sure we can include that information in upcoming presentations. We love to hear from you, because the way that we get better to help you get better is by hearing from our audience, so we can do that. Seen a lot of thank yous come in. Anyone else, any other quick question? Otherwise, we might wrap it up and give the rest of your day back to you. Here's your last shot.
Yeah, well, if you have any questions that we didn't cover today that you are a little bit shy to ask, feel free to reach out to Jody or myself. If you are not in our regions, we will introduce you to your PTAC counselor. If you're not even in the state of Washington and you are attending today, and you want to get connected with your PTAC counselor, you got a couple of choices. You can either go directly to ABTAC, the abtac.us website, or just let Jody or myself know, and we can connect you with the appropriate counselor. We do have a fairly new counselor over here in Northern Idaho. Her name is Beth, and she is a pretty good chunk of knowledge. She's spent her first section of this during COVID, so she spent a lot of time in training. So
might have to go to her for some updates one of these days, huh?
Oh, she's a good person to connect with. I really.
Yeah. And there are no questions that are dumb questions. That's what we're here to do. There's always things that come up that you can learn from. We learn every day by working with our clients, because there are situations that maybe we hadn't dealt with. So we appreciate that you reach out to us and let us help you find the answers to help you succeed in government contracting at whatever level you might be interested in. So I think we're just about there. Thank you, Raul. So glad you could join us today. So Alicia, I'll let you do any final comments. Pamela, if you have anything additional to share, and we'll wrap it up for today.
All right.
I was just going to reiterate what Julie said, to just please fill out the survey for us, because we want to continue to do more outreach, and we want it to be useful and informative for you. Thank you.
Yep. So I want to take a moment to thank Pamela, Julia, and Elliot for joining us today. Jody, thank you so much for helping me put all of this together. It was definitely a joint task on this. And thank you everybody who attended today as well. I hope you were able to get some useful and relevant information. Once again, we will be sending out the slide deck and the recording. It will also be on our YouTube channel. So you got a brief taste of that today with BidMatch. So with that being said, thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Stay safe.